Hi guys. In this session we're going to take a look at a paper. This is prior to submitting the paper to your professor and turn it in. And before you do that, you want to do a visual inspection of your paper. You want to ensure that it's your best work, and you want to ensure that you have given credit where credit is due, and also that you're following the appropriate APA format. As I have mentioned earlier, Dr. J and I are not English professors. We are respiratory therapists. But there is an important part of writing at a professional level that is associated with the BSRT and the MSRT. So we're going to take a look at this paper. I'm not going to go in through all the details, but right here we have a title page, and that's good. I got a running head. I got page numbers. I got 1-inch borders or margins, and it is double spaced. It looks like I have go up here, and it is not in 12 font. I need to change that to 12 font. And Calibri or New Times Roman is acceptable for research papers. I have my abstract. It is not indented. It's a single spaced after the word abstract. And I can tell that my running head needs to be adjusted. It's double spaced after that. Your abstract should be between 75 to 200 words, and it should encompass an overview of the paper. If the reader was to read this paper, this is what they should find out or learn while reading this paper. It should also try to entice the reader to read your paper. I continue down. I can see I have some spacing issues. Here is the title of the paper. One of the things that I've learned over the years, and it's very professor specific, but when this professor asks for specific parts of research to be completed, I tend to use that as a bolded heading to draw attention that I have addressed that question that the professor has. So for our activity papers, if there are 3 or 4 or 5 questions that need to be addressed, might not be a bad idea to come up with some type of heading that, not the full question, but just a heading that kind of guides the professor when reading the paper. Here is where I answered your question. So I go through, I'm looking at some areas here that look like there might be something wrong. I'm looking at my citations. Here's one of the areas, quantitative research. Key elements had to be addressed. I'm seeing this highlighted, just doing a visual right now. As I'm going through, I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, some key areas that the professor wanted covered. As I go through, I'm like, okay, so far I'm not too bad. I might want to make sure that I don't need citations in these areas, because how did I know this? There might be a need for a citation somewhere here. Was it in my readings? Was it from a particular resource that I used that let me know that the staff responsibilities for cardiopulmonary patients, this is where I learned this information. So make sure you give that information to your professor. And then finally, the conclusion. And this should be an overview of what you've learned. In conclusion, responding to disasters is a synergistic effort that requires a collaborative effort. Okay, right here, effort and effort. I might want to look at the thesaurus and try to choose a different word. That's kind of awkward to have the same words in the same sentence. I come down, I look at my reference page. Okay, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 references. So those 5 references should be in the body of the paper. I'll make sure of that. And then the other thing is I want to make sure that my reference page is in alphabetical order. Okay, as I go down. Okay, and so far that looks pretty good. The other thing about my paper is if I highlight here, it is not indented on the first line, but the line afterwards. And now I'm just going to drag this over. And now my reference page is now in proper format. It is double spaced. It's alphabetized. My links for my articles, my websites, the resources that I've used is readily available. And so right now my reference page looks pretty good. I'm going through it. Okay, so now I'm pretty happy with that part. And at this point, I'm going to come up to the top bar and I'm going to hit review. I've done the visual inspection. Now I'm going to do an ABC check. And quickly I'm able to identify that Microsoft Word has identified 10 spelling issues that they feel might be issues, 2 grammar, and 5 areas of clarity and conciseness that might want to be reviewed. If I click immediately, it shows me where those areas are. Oh, disease control? No, it's disease control. And so now that has been, and it's shown me over here, the appropriate correction. This one here. Now, this might be because it's an article. This might be the appropriate spelling, and in this situation, it looks like it is. So I'm just going to add it to the dictionary, and then it is no longer a problem. This is a person's name, and I'm going to add that to the dictionary, and it's no longer a problem. I'm going back here, and I'm looking at what Word is telling me about the paper. Look here, the. It says I have a repeated word. What is the suggestion? Delete the repeated word. And now it's been corrected. I have no spelling issues. I have 2 grammar. Grammar. Here's the word there. That there is sufficient. Well, it's showing you here where the problem is, and it's showing you the suggestion. And this is the correct suggestion. Now, just because it gives you a suggestion, it doesn't say it's a mandate. It says it's a suggestion. You have to use your critical thinking and make the appropriate change. I make that change, and now I go down. I've changed all this, and now I'm going to look at the clarity. Now, clarity is subjective. You can look at this and say, okay, I like sufficient. I really don't want enough, but it's up to you. You go through that, and you are done doing your check. Now, for me, before submitting a paper, I would also do something that is a free resource. I'd copy the whole document, and then I'd run it through a website called Grammarly.com, in which I'm going to do next before I would submit this paper. I will do another video to show you how to do that. It's a free resource, and I'm hoping that this is helping.